There is a pain that does not bleed, a wound that does not show, yet it lingers deeper than any physical scar. It is the sting of betrayal, the ache of loss, the weight of words that were never meant to be forgotten. These wounds shape us, defining how we see the world, how we trust, how we love. And yet, what if suffering was not an unchangeable fate? What if, instead of being trapped by pain, we could learn from it, grow through it, and ultimately set it free? This is the wisdom that has been passed down for centuries in Zen and Buddhist teachings, the wisdom of release, of understanding, of inner peace. Imagine yourself as a traveler, burdened by past betrayals, disappointments, and regrets. Each hurtful word, every painful memory is a stone in your pack, weighing you down. With every step, the weight presses deeper into your soul, slowing you, draining you, reminding you of wounds that never seem to heal. The voices of the past whisper in your ear, reminding you of what was, what could have been, what should have been. The burden is not only heavy, it is relentless. Then one day, as if guided by fate, you find yourself in a tranquil valley, where a stream meanders through smooth stones. There, seated on a moss-covered rock, is a wise master. His eyes, pools of infinite calm, meet yours. There is no need for words at first. In his presence, something within you stirs. Not fear, not shame, but a quiet understanding. A knowing smile plays at his lips as he gestures for you to sit beside him. You hesitate, uncertain, but his presence is compelling. The steady murmur of the stream is like a song, weaving a spell of peace around you. You carry much, the master finally says, his voice a soft echo of the flowing water. But why do you choose to bear it so? The words catch you off guard. Choose. This burden was not your choice. It was placed upon you by others, by their betrayals, their broken promises, their unkind words. You glance down, as if expecting to see the invisible load pressing against your chest. I don't choose this, you say at last. It is simply there. The master bends down and scoops a handful of water from the stream. He lets it slip through his fingers, the droplets sparkling in the golden light. Pain is like water in your hands. Hold it too tightly and it spills. Try to grasp it and it slips away. But if you let it flow, it will find its own path. You watch the water return to the stream, merging effortlessly, as if it had never been disturbed. Could it truly be that simple? Could you let go of what you carried for so long? The master continues, his voice both gentle and firm. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. What you cling to, you become. If you let grief define you, then grief is all you will know. If you let anger guide your steps, you will walk a path of fire. But if you choose understanding, you choose freedom. The words settle into you like a seed planted in fertile soil. A possibility arises, one you have never considered. Perhaps healing is not about forgetting. Perhaps it is about allowing pain to exist without granting it control over your life. The master gestures toward the stones scattered across the stream bed. Each of these was once jagged, rough, and sharp, but the water did not fight them. It did not resist. It simply flowed, and over time, even the hardest edges softened. A spark of understanding flickers in your heart. Could your pain be like those stones? Could it be shaped into wisdom rather than weighing you down? You take a deep breath, the first in what feels like years, letting it fill your lungs completely. The master watches you with a knowing smile. The burden you carry is not yours to bear forever. Let the river take it. You close your eyes, exhaling slowly. And as you do, something inside you shifts. The past does not vanish, nor does the pain dissolve into nothingness. But for the first time, it no longer feels like a chain around your soul. The journey of healing has begun, and with each step forward, you begin to understand. Freedom is not found in erasing the past, but in choosing not to let it define you. A weary traveler once roamed the lands burdened by the wrongs he had suffered. Friends who abandoned him, family who spoke cruel words, loved ones who turned away without reason, each memory a heavy weight on his heart. Hearing of a great Zen master who lived atop a mountain, he decided to seek wisdom. The journey was arduous, every step and effort under the weight of his past. The traveler's body ached, but it was his mind that carried the heaviest burden. Memories of betrayal replayed endlessly, whispering doubts into his soul. Each step was a battle between his longing for peace and the pull of his past pain. At times he questioned his journey. Could wisdom truly ease his suffering? Could mere words erase years of hurt? Yet something within him, a flicker of hope, pushed him forward. Perhaps, just perhaps, there was another way to exist, a way that did not require carrying this relentless weight. When he finally reached the summit, the air was crisp, the world below him stretching vast and infinite. And there, by a small stream, sat the master. He did not seem grand or imposing, yet there was an undeniable presence about him. His stillness was profound, as if he had become one with the world around him. Without looking up, the master spoke. "You have come seeking answers." The traveler hesitated before nodding. "Master, I have been hurt many times. I carry this pain, and it grows heavier each day. How can I find peace?" The master did not answer immediately. Instead, he reached beside him and picked up a clay pot, dipping it into the stream. He handed it to the traveler. "Carry this down the mountain." Confusion flickered across the traveler's face. "Why, master?" The master's eyes held a knowing glint. "Because this is what you have been doing with your pain. You carry it everywhere, even when it no longer serves you." The traveler looked down at the pot, feeling its weight in his hands. It was not particularly heavy, but it was an added burden nonetheless. He frowned. "But I cannot simply forget. They hurt me. How can I just release the pain?" The master gestured toward the flowing water. "Do you see how the stream moves? It does not hold onto the stones, nor does it fight them. It simply flows, and over time, even the sharpest edges are softened." The traveler considered these words, watching the water ripple and move forward. The idea of letting go felt foreign, even impossible. Yet deep within, something stirred, an understanding he could not yet put into words. Could it really be that the weight he carried was not placed upon him, but one he had chosen to hold? The traveler bowed deeply. "Master, I have been hurt many times. I carry this pain, and it grows heavier each day. How can I find peace?" The master reached for a clay pot, filling it with water from the stream. He handed it to the traveler and said, "Carry this down the mountain." Confused, the traveler hesitated. "Why, master?" The master replied with a serene smile. "Because this is what you have been doing with your pain. You carry it everywhere, even when it no longer serves you." The traveler clutched the pot tightly, unwilling to let go. "But I cannot simply forget. They hurt me. How can I just release the pain?" The master pointed to the stream. "Do you see how the water flows around the rocks? It does not stop, does not resist, and yet over time, it smooths even the hardest stones. Pain is like that. If you hold on to it, it remains sharp, but if you allow it to flow, it will lose its power over you." The master's voice softened, yet carried a weight of truth. To heal is to embrace impermanence. Your suffering is real, but it is not eternal. The moment you stop feeding it, it begins to fade. The water does not dwell on where it has been, it simply flows forward. The traveler watched the stream, mesmerized. For the first time, he saw his pain for what it was, temporary, fleeting. And in that realization, something inside him loosened. The pot in his hands felt lighter. The journey of release had begun. If this wisdom resonated with you, consider subscribing for more insights on Zen and Buddhist teachings. Let us know in the comments, what lesson spoke to you the most? Until next time, stay mindful, stay present, and embrace the path of wisdom. The traveler frowned. "So I should do nothing when people hurt me? Just accept it?" The master chuckled. "Number, you must understand pain before you choose how to respond." Sitting beside the master, the traveler listened intently as the lesson unfolded. Pain is an echo, not a command. When a drum is struck, its sound lingers before fading. Your pain is the same. It lasts only if you keep striking the drum. If you replay hurtful memories over and over, you are the one keeping the suffering alive. The master then pointed to the stream once more. "Consider the river. It does not fight to stay where it was yesterday. It does not try to freeze itself in place. It flows, adapting to the landscape, shaping itself while remaining true to its nature. Pain, too, can be like this. The traveler watched the water swirl around the rocks, never stopping, never resisting. So, you're saying I should allow pain to exist, but not hold on to it? The master nodded. Exactly. Let it pass through you, rather than setting up a home within you. Pain is a visitor, not a resident. Treat it as such. The traveler was silent for a long moment. He had spent so much time resenting his suffering, trying to erase it or dwell in it, never considering that he could simply acknowledge it and move forward. He turned to the master, his voice softer. But how do I let go? The master smiled. By realizing that you are not your pain. You are the sky, and pain is only the passing cloud. You are the ocean, and pain is but a single wave. No matter how strong the storm, the ocean remains vast and deep, unshaken. So, my friend, do not be the wave. Be the ocean. For the first time in years, the traveler felt a sense of peace settle within him. He was not free yet, but he now knew the way. He had been given a map, not out of suffering, but through it. If this wisdom resonated with you, consider subscribing for more insights on Zen and Buddhist teachings. Let us know in the comments. What lessons spoke to you the most? Until next time, stay mindful, stay present, and embrace the path of wisdom. The master tossed a small stone into the stream. What do you see? The traveler watched. The water ripples, but then it calms. The master nodded. That is how the wise respond to pain. The foolish cling to the disturbance, reliving their suffering 1,000 times. But tell me, if someone insults you and you do not accept the insult, to whom does it belong? After a moment of contemplation, the traveler replied, to the one who gave it. The master smiled. Exactly. When someone throws a stone at you, you have two choices. Pick it up and carry it, or leave it where it falls. The traveler sat in thought, staring at the ripples as they gradually faded. But how do I leave it? How do I let go? The master leaned forward, dipping his hand into the cool stream. Look at the river. It does not pause for a stone. It does not resist. It flows forward, undeterred. When you hold on to pain, it is like standing still in the current, clinging to something that no longer serves you. The traveler felt the words seep into his soul. He thought of all the times he had clung to anger, relived old wounds, replayed past betrayals in his mind. He had been carrying stones, filling his pockets with burdens, refusing to let them sink. But what if I can't let go? What if the pain is too deep? The master picked up another stone, this one larger and heavier. If I ask you to carry this in your hands all day, how would you feel? Weary, drained. Exactly. The weight is not the problem. It is the act of carrying it. The longer you hold on, the heavier it becomes. Now watch. The master dropped the stone into the stream. It vanished beneath the surface, sinking effortlessly, the water continuing on its way. The moment you decide to release your burden, it is no longer yours to carry. The traveler felt something shift within him, a loosening of chains he had placed upon himself. He reached down, picked up a small stone, and held it in his palm. Then, with a slow, deliberate motion, he tossed it into the water. It disappeared beneath the surface, the ripples fading just as before. The master smiled. Letting go is not forgetting. It is choosing peace over suffering, wisdom over resentment. The river does not forget the stone, but it does not hold on to it either. Be like the river. Flow forward. The journey of self-discovery does not end there. As the traveler sat by the master, he began to understand that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. The human mind clings to the past, but the path to enlightenment requires letting go. The master continued to teach, using the wind, the trees, and the sky to illustrate that all things are transient. The clouds pass, the river flows, and so too should our burdens. He urged the traveler to practice mindfulness, to observe his emotions without attachment, and to cultivate compassion, not only for others, but for himself. Look at the trees, the master said. Do they hold on to their leaves forever? No, they shed them when the season changes, making room for new growth. Yet we humans hold on to pain as if it defines us, resisting change instead of embracing it. The traveler looked up at the trees swaying gently in the breeze. He had never thought of pain in this way before. Could it be that he too was resisting the natural flow of life? The master then pointed to the sky. The clouds do not struggle against the wind. They drift, reform, and dissolve, never fighting their transformation. If you cling to the past, you fight the very nature of life. For the first time, the traveler felt the wisdom in the master's words settle deep within him. He realized that he had spent years fighting his own emotions, reliving his pain and resisting change. But now in the presence of the master, in the vastness of nature, he saw that suffering was not his fate. It was his choice. The river flows, the trees change, the sky transforms, the master continued, and you too must learn to move forward, to grow, to let go. Tears welled in the traveler's eyes, not from sorrow, but from the weight lifting from his heart. He felt something inside him shift, a seed of peace beginning to take root. The master smiled. Now walk forward. With each step, release a little more. With each breath, allow yourself to be free. For the first time in his life, the traveler felt truly light, as if the wind itself had carried away his pain. He took a step forward, then another, feeling the world open up before him. And as he walked, he knew the journey of self-discovery was not about reaching a destination, but about embracing the journey itself. Days turned into weeks and the traveler began to transform. His heart, once heavy with sorrow, now felt lighter. He saw the world differently, not as a place of suffering, but as a place of learning. The people who had wronged him were no longer enemies, but teachers. Each painful experience had shaped him, strengthened him, and deepened his understanding of himself. One evening, as the sun set over the mountain, the traveler turned to the master and said, "I see now that to let go is not to lose, but to gain. To forgive is not to forget, but to free myself. To release pain is not to be weak, but to reclaim my strength." The master nodded. "And what will you do with this understanding?" The traveler stood tall, his posture no longer burdened by the weight of the past. "I will live differently. I will meet life with open hands instead of clenched fists. I will choose peace, not because I am afraid of pain, but because I no longer let pain define me." The master smiled. "Then go and carry this wisdom not just in words, but in how you live." And as the traveler descended the mountain, he did not leave behind his past. He carried it differently. It was no longer a burden, but a foundation for his growth, a lesson that had shaped him into someone wiser, someone lighter, someone free. The traveler stood, his gaze steady. "I will live differently. I will walk with wisdom, not resentment. I will protect my peace, not my grudges. And most of all, I will choose love over anger, compassion over bitterness, and understanding over judgment." The master smiled, watching as the traveler began his descent. This time he carried nothing but the wisdom he had gained. His steps were light, his mind was clear, and his heart was truly free. As he walked, the world seemed different. The same path he had climbed in sorrow now felt open, limitless. The burdens he had carried for years had not vanished, but they no longer weighed him down. Instead of looking back at the pain he had endured, he now looked forward, eager to embrace what lay ahead. He saw people along the way, some carrying their own invisible burdens, others caught in storms of anger and regret. He did not judge them, for he had been where they stood. Instead, he offered a knowing smile, a silent acknowledgement that they too had the power to let go. As he reached the base of the mountain, he found himself at the edge of the same river where he had met the master. The water still flowed, unwavering, just as it had before. He knelt by the stream, cupped his hands, and let the cool water slip through his fingers. It was as if the river whispered to him, "You are free." A gentle breeze carried the scent of new beginnings. The traveler closed his eyes, taking in the moment, embracing the profound stillness within him. He had spent so long seeking peace, only to realize that it had been within him all along. Peace was not something to be found. It was something to be chosen, to be cultivated, to be lived. With a deep breath he stood, feeling the earth beneath his feet, the sky above him, and the boundless possibilities before him. The journey had not ended. It had only just begun. And with each step forward, he knew that he would no longer walk the path of resentment and suffering. He would walk in wisdom, in lightness, and in peace. For the first time in his life, he was truly free. No one can take your peace unless you give it away. The choice is always yours. Set down the weight. Take a deep breath. Step forward with a heart that is truly free. If this wisdom resonated with you, consider subscribing for more insights on Zen and Buddhist teachings. Let us know in the comments, what lessons spoke to you the most? Until next time, stay mindful, stay present, and embrace the path of wisdom.